Robinson heaving one down the sideline, and he's got Kaz over the top. Takes it down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, big ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Bruin Bible. Will Decker, your host. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing the podcast. We are brought to you guys today by our advertisers. Our advertisers are Bell to Bell Fitness, Shea Tor, a realtor out in Arizona, former Bruin alum, and my main man, Howard Chang, a realtor right here in Los Angeles. Let's go through them, guys. Bell to Bell Fitness is a boxing gym on the West Coast used by their FIT acronym, Fight Inspired Training. My main man, Tony Gonzalez, was the boxing coach for UCLA for over 10 years. He has built this gym on the West Side to learn how to boxing, stay in shape, and get you all the essentials you need to become somebody that is obsessed with boxing and fitness. Make sure to check it out. Go into Bell to Bell Fitness and say you heard about it from the Bruin Bible, and you're going to get a free session with Tony Gonzalez. So make sure to check that out. Shea Tor, my main man. Shea Tor is a licensed real estate agent in Arizona and a lifelong Bruin. He's a current Wooden Athletic Fund donor and football season ticket holder. When not selling houses or going to UCLA games, he loves to travel the country, checking out different arenas, ballparks, and stadiums. If you're looking to make the move to Arizona or know someone who is, please reach out to our loyal friend, Mr. Shea Tor. His phone number is 602-487-3975. Once again, his number is 602-487-3975. Make sure to check that out. And then the local realtor we got out here, Howard Chang. Howard Chang is a local realtor with the Serene team at eXp Realty. Their team has an office right here in Culver City, though they help clients buy and sell homes all over the LA County and the surrounding areas. Howard and his team do a ton of business and are super in tune with the market, knowing winning strategies to give their clients a competitive advantage, have amazing vendor referrals, are a one-stop shop for anything real estate, and just provide a ton of value for their clients. Howard and his partner, Kyle Draper, are UCLA alums and a huge fans of the UCLA football and basketball programs. You often see them at games, tailgating and networking and staying involved with the UCLA alumni community. They would love to help any fellow alumni with accomplishing their real estate goals. So if you guys have any real estate needs in the LA area, look no further. Howard is your guy. What is up, and welcome to ESPN 1090, the Mightier Friday. A little bit of a different speed today, but I'm sure you guys are going to love it. This is a basketball segment on the LA Football Show, and we have UCLA royalty in the house. My main man, Kris Johnson. Follow him on Twitter at those four letters. He's always repping UCLA. His pops played at UCLA. He played at UCLA. His younger brother, you may know on social media, is Josiah, played at UCLA as well. KJ, first and foremost, it's an honor, man. How are you doing on this Friday afternoon as we lead into the weekend, about to talk some UCLA basketball?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to join your show, man. I don't get a lot of requests, so I appreciate giving me an opportunity to talk some shop, brother.
Oh, man.
Amazing. So happy to have you, KJ, and excited to sort of jump into basketball. You know, it seems like so much of the narrative has been around football the last few weeks, the last few months. Let's give basketball its shine, you know, as a true blue blood there, you know. And so, KJ, just to kind of kick things off, seemed like UCLA kind of was slow a little bit out of the gate when it came to NIL and just kind of getting all the resources and the strategy put together. And it really feels like there's been a huge turning point since kind of the summer and the fall. It feels like kind of the NBA guys have come together. Big donors have come together. We've heard names like Larry Drew kind of being kind of a strategic integrator to sort of put all of this together. What has sort of come about here? I mean, what can you share with us in terms of this feeling like an NIL revolution in basketball and it sort of now translating into this incredible transfer portal class?
Well, you know, I know that for a long time, you know, UCLA athletics has had sort of a reputation of, I won't say penny pinchers, but not necessarily a group that would be willing to break the bank for stuff. It's been amazing to see that the UCLA donor base is sort of taking a stand, because what you get is you get a lot of other donor bases talking stuff. You get Texas talking stuff, you get Michigan talking stuff, you get, all these kind of high level athletic institutions that have these, really rampant forum sites and fan sites, not unlike the stuff that we try to do and try to feed the beast with, that get people geeked. And so I feel like the UCLA donors said, "Hey, wait a minute, man. You're talking about the Bruins here. You're talking about 11 national championships. You're talking about the top basketball program in the history of the NCAA. I don't care what's happened in the last 25 years and whatever that new narrative is that everybody tries to question our blue blood standing and all that stuff they do now. But I don't know nothing about that. But all I do know is we got the most championships. We got the best coach, the best players, and we have the best legacy. And so that the fans, the donors said, hey, you know what? We're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to step up and we're going to get out here, give Coach Cronin what he needs to compete, to bring in some reinforcements, some dudes that can play and compete for a Big Ten and a national championship. And that's what happened, dude. Donors got tired of the talk. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, people tired of it because you see it. And then you hear the national narrative about the fan base. So I'm gonna show up to the Rose Bowl in football, and there's so much stuff to do out here, and you just hear all this talk, man, over the years. This is decades of this stuff. When I was in school, it was the East Coast bias thing. We weren't on ESPN, Duke, North
Yes.
Carolina, Big Monday, Big Tuesday. You guys remember Big 12, Kansas.
Yes.
We weren't on ESPN. We're on Prime Ticket. Give me a break. I'm not saying Prime Ticket wasn't, we weren't thankful for being on Prime Ticket, not Prime Ticket, but Fox and all that, but local,
Of
regional.
course. Yes.
It's a lot different. It's a lot different when you're a national brand. So for me, I just felt like the donors, and it's funny you said Larry Drew, because I didn't know that he was involved. I don't know too much about the ins and outs of behind the scenes. I just know that, between Bruin Online and all these guys that are involved and bringing awareness to the men of Westwood and everybody that's been involved, like I've just tried to take on the role of just being positive and really shine light on, all the wonderful athletes that we do have within the program and why we should support UCLA men's and women's basketball.
Absolutely, man. And we have like 6 transfers to kind of go through. I mean, I would love to kind of go through each one of these guys with you. And I think the guy we got to start off with, because it was the most satisfying to UCLA fans, Kobe Johnson, coming over from USC, a Trojan, now a Bruin. And this guy just screams a Mick Cronin player, 2-time all Pac-12 defender, averaging double-digit points. I mean, 6'6" guard. This guy has the tools to be everything we need to kind of build around on the roster next year. Talk to me a little bit about Kobe Johnson. This kid's also from Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure he's familiar with your dad, who's an analyst for the Bucks too since 2015.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe's a guy that I was interested in at SC because he has a tremendous knack on the defensive end. I mean, his like the presence he has on defense is game changing. It's like high level for SC. It's a reason probably why they had a solid defensive stat. Kobe had a lot to do with that. I think his size and length, as well as the athleticism defensively, is perfect for Mick Cronin. He's going to help us because we lacked a stopper, a guy that can just put the clamps on a dude for 30, 35 minutes. And when you're going into the Big Ten, and you're going to be playing against some high-level wings and guards that are on everybody's mock draft and that are coming out to really, show you something. I mean, you need a guy that you can bring in that can just clamp you, that can lock you up. I mean, back in the day, Gary Payton, the glove type of dude. And that's who Kobe Johnson is going to be offensively. He's still developing. I mean, I have a lot of I'm high on guys that have NBA pedigree. His brother Jalen plays with the Hawks. So, like, I'm a believer in those type of guys as far as in how they can get better during the summers because of what they're around and what they're exposed to on the highest of the level. So if you're playing against your brother or you're in the Hawks facility or wherever you are, you're around high level guy, much like some of these other guys that I feel like is going to make a big jump in the next 6 months in terms of development. I love the fact that Coach Cronin went out and got guys that have a couple of years of eligibility left, not just your 1-year rental types. I mean, when you get guys that have 2 years instead of 1, and Eric Daly has 3 years, it creates some continuity. within the program, and now you got some time to develop because development takes time, guys. I mean, I'm sure you guys know and understand how that stuff works. It doesn't happen overnight. And Mick Cronin, can't Mick is a different type of situation that you may or may not be ready for. I'm not going to speak for any of the transfers, but I know if I know Mick and I know the type of guys that these guys are, they're not going to have a problem with anything that Coach Cronin does.
KJ, such a great point about continuity and pedigree. Those are kind of the two underlying words I heard you say essentially in terms of your answer. Another guy that kind of fits that mold, maybe the other big name, first big name in the transfer portal class was Sky Clark, the wing from Louisville, Louisville's leading scorer, in fact, over 13 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 35% from 3. And then he's also a local kid, Heritage Christian in Northridge. Now he gets an opportunity to come back. KJ, what are you expecting from Clark next year? A lot of high hopes and expectations. How do you see it play out?
Well, Sky's a guy that I'd known since he was about 7th or 8th grade. I used to coach AAU. I used to coach AAU on the EYBL level, the Truth, Paul Pierce's old EYBL organization. So Sky is someone I recruited. I've worked him out before. I know his dad really well. So I've had a chance to watch Sky's development over the years. And what I'll tell you about Sky Clark is UCLA is getting a bona fide dog that can play the point guard, shooting guard, and that will guard probably 1 through 4. Can go and not fours in the sense that, hey, he's going to be able to handle the grind of a 4 over the course of 40 minutes. But if he gets switched down on a big fella down low, he's the type of guard that's going to get into a guy's knees, get in front, and battle. And that's who Sky Clark is. He's a ball player. He loves the game. He lives in the gym. He's working out in Vegas right now. I just talked to his dad. He's working out in Vegas over at the, I believe it's the Impact facility, working out with some high-level guys during the pre-draft process. So what we're going to get in Sky Clark is a ball-handling, creating guard that can score it. Now, he had some turnover situations last year at Louisville. That's sort of the elephant in the room. But what we got to realize is when you're playing on a team that went 8-24, had the issues that Louisville did, you're going to have some slippage from a fundamental side of things. You're going to be allowed to do certain things that, say, a Mick Cronin might not allow you to do. So we need to be able to see Sky play under Mick Cronin before we pass judgment on his game or what he's going to bring. I think we look at the positives from last year. We give him the benefit of the doubt. I know I'm an optimist. I'm one of these guys that I try to take the good in people and look at and basketball players. I want to see the good in you. I see you had 3.5 turnovers. Let me look on film and see what type of turnovers they were. Let me see what positions you were guys moving, were guys cutting, or they just standing around and leaving you out on the island. Or guys throwing it to you at the end of the shot clock and making you have to go through your legs 5 times. Now you got to make a play. I need to see that. So I have a better context of Sky Clark and the type of player he was because I watched a lot of tape on him. And I'm high on Sky. I mean, I don't know what the lineup's going to be. I just know that he's going to come in and just like I said, he's going to bring us some offensive firepower. It's from a scoring punch. He has the ability to create. He's a major creator. If you go and watch his film, you will see just a smoothness and a natural handle of the point guard position that you'll be like, oh, wow, okay. So him and Dylan know each other. Him and Dylan Andrews have grew up together. They know each other. They rock together. So that part of it, I think, needs to be touched on. I know I'm rambling. I'm just going on and on. But, hey, when you got 2 guys that are from L.A. rocking those 4 letters, UCLA, in your backcourt, I'm getting excited. It makes me excited. It gets me hyped. It gives me chills because you know those guys. I'm not saying those other guys don't understand it, but it just hits different when you got some LA kids.
Yes, sir.
I love it, man. And the last time we saw Sky Clark, 36 points in the opening round of the ACC tournament, the Final Four team in NC State. So this kid's a baller, man. You're a dog. He's a dog. We got everything going on here that we need. Dominic Harris coming in from LMU, man. This is a guy I'm very excited about because this team was clearly missing an outside 3-point threat last year. Yes. Will McClendon, who was the best, suited for that role, is moving on from the program. They get a guy at KJ that averaged 45% from 3 last year, playing 29 minutes a game, was once a Gonzaga, player, which is kind of like a little taboo for UCLA fans, given how this has played out the last few years. But Dominic Harris, you got to get that older guy in the room, a guy that's been in these tournament games, that veteran presence that every national contending threat really needs at the end of the day. Talk to me a bit about Dominic Harris because he was at Loyola Marymount right down the street from UCLA.
Dom is interesting because he's another kid that I coached against on the circuit. He was playing for Dream Vision. He was a point guard when he was a ballyhooed point guard that was a floor general. So for him to see his evolution as a basketball player turn into a 45% three-point shooter on almost
Mhm.
nearly 5 attempts a game, he's high volume and high percentage from beyond the arc. So that's exciting. And he's a dog defensively. He's going to give you the effort. He's going to get after you. About 6'4", 190, long arms. Can do some things on off the bounce as far as attacking closeouts and stuff like that off the catch. I'm excited about him. A season, it's nothing like having a seasoned college basketball player. Just you'll see the difference between the guys that we have this year versus the guys that we had last year on just those guys, they were rookies. So they never had played college. I don't care what they've been through in FIBA. When you play NCAA basketball, it's a whole nother animal, a whole nother beast. Dom Harris is going to come in right away. I expect him to be probably the sixth man and help us out at multiple positions.
Mm. I love that, KJ. And then perhaps you can talk now a little bit about the front line. We've got Tyler Bilodeau, the transfer from Oregon State. Oregon State's leading scorer, over 18 a game, 6'9". He bruises a little bit, but there's a lot of polish there. You mentioned Eric Daly Jr. from Oklahoma State. Another that just feels like a Cronin, prototype. I mean, if Mick Cronin could kind of go in the UCLA engineering lab and go build a player, it feels like it's Eric Daly Jr. And then we got the anchor who we're hoping is going to replace Adembona in William Kyle III. Smaller school guy. It seems like there's a ton of upside. What are you seeing with those three frontline guys, KJ?
Yeah, I'll start with Bilodeau. I'm really excited about the job that Coach Cronin has done and who he put together because you get versatility, quickness, athleticism, and the ability to switch all the time. And that's not something that Coach Cronin necessarily is going to like stress because he's Mr. Like he wants you to get through. But it's nice to be able to know in your back pocket that you got some guys that can stop a guard from getting downhill in the event that you have to switch. So I feel like, maybe that was in the back of his head and the type of guys, but starting with Bilodeau, watched Bilodeau a ton last year at Oregon State. Former hockey player, tough as nails. All right. And I made a video about him I put out where I just showed all of his defensive plays because I really wanted to do a deep dive on Bilodeau just because I knew the 14 points a game, 5 rebounds and all that. I know the offensive stuff. Let me see in the tape what Bilodeau's effort is like, what his feet are like. Man, he's a lot better than I originally thought. He's going to provide a lot on the defensive end for us because he's a hustler. He's a position-based defender, but he's, two hands up. He's plugging holes. He'll take a charge. He's one of those type of dudes. So that's an exciting type of guy to have. And not only that, but then on the offensive side, he's a mismatch. So he'll post you up. If you're a smaller guy, if you're a bigger guy, you're going to have to guard him out beyond the 25 feet out, where he can, in about 2 or 3 dribbles, do a couple of things, get to the basket or pull up for his jumper. He can get to be a better shooter. I feel like during this offseason, the 35% was solid. But again, I feel like guys have 6 months to get better. He's going to be a great piece. Eric Daly Jr., 3 years left, 6'8" lefty. I said on his tape because he works well from, the elbows and the baseline, kind of like a guy I played with at UCLA named Ed O'Bannon. A big 6'8" lefty, but it's just nice from a jab position, can get open, create a little space from his shot without a lot of dribbles. He's also a dog defensively, long arms. Seems like he likes playing defense. Something he gets, he's one of these dudes. You watch him on tape, he's invigorated by the defensive end. And then playing at Oklahoma State, I think his dad played as well or coached at a high level. I believe his mom was involved in the game. So he's a basketball dude, student of the game, loves the game. Is going to work. Is going to improve. Major get for Mick Cronin. We typically don't get dudes like Eric Daly Jr. at UCLA.
Yes.
You see those dudes at Kansas and all that. I mean, this dude is the Memphis. I mean, he's one of those type of dudes. That's why I'm so excited because we getting dudes that you don't usually get here, and so that's what is so exciting about it because now Chef Cronin has some ingredients for the dish that he's got to mix together, and it brings me to my last guy, William Kyle. I mean, what a gem of a find for Coach Cronin and his staff. I know I had heard about him after he had a good game against Iowa State. They were talking about a bouncy kid, and I'd seen his highlights. But when you really watch him and you really check out his game, you realize he's probably more skilled than Bona right now,
Mm.
as far as in terms of understanding how to read double teams, the accuracy of his passing with either hand from the post. He's a good left hand passing dude out the post. If that tells you anything about the type of game he has, his offensive game, it was primarily at the rim, dunks, lobs, putbacks and finishes. So I mean he has some stuff, but I don't think Mick Cronin's going to be wanting him to do stuff. I think he's going to be crashing the glass. He has a 40-something inch vertical, 7'3" 7'3" wingspan. So he's gonna provide rim protection. He's gonna block shots, and he has one of the fastest second jumps that the quickest second jumps I've ever seen. A guy that jumps one time, and when he lands, he's back up, bouncy,
Wow.
all up in the square. He's back up in the square, and so he's one of those dudes where you're like, man, this guy is really gonna be a dude that could really replace Bona. Like I didn't think we'd ever be able to see another athletic 6'9" absolute monster like a Dim Boner just right away. Like the next, like literally, you're gonna get us a guy with a 7'3" wingspan and doggone 44-inch vertical. Like, are you kidding me, Coach Cronin? So I'm excited about Kyle. I believe he's gonna play both the center and forward spot. That part of it's gonna be interesting. We can dive into that more. But no, I mean the class is amazing. The guys that they brought in. I mean, it's just a nice mix of guys with a lot of years left of eligibility. So excited.
Kyle, also Summit League Defensive Player of the Year. You just add all these quality defenders to what Mick Cronin does with the defensive side of the basketball. It's going to be a fun time out there. We're going to keep going with my guy Kris down here, but for those listening on ESPN Radio, make sure to tune into the podcast at Bruin Bible. We'll be out. We'll see you guys soon, but we're going to keep going here with Kris. Kris, I kind of want to take it back to the beginning now. I mean, you go to Crenshaw High School, you star there. You were, I think section player of the year out there at Crenshaw High. Was there any other option to go to outside of UCLA, knowing your pops and what he did in those 4 letters at UCLA?
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I'm truly a true blue Bruin baby. Grew up there. Can tell you guys stories about old Westwood and movie premieres and the UCLA campus before all this stuff was built and all that. But I won't get into all that. But I will say that I had a few schools that were interested in me. Arizona State with the guy Bill Frieder was the head coach. He had won a national championship in Michigan in '89 and so, yeah, he ended up being Arizona State's head coach. So they liked me a lot. Rick Majerus out in Utah.
Yes.
He recruited. Yeah, Rick recruited me real heavy. Rest in peace. And he loved my game and he believed in me. He was one of those guys. Back then, it was not a lot of college guys believed in the 6'4", 260-pound small forward, Draymond Green role. You had to be prototype. So for them, looking at me, I had to find people that really believed in me in college, believed in my game, and believed that I could really affect, the program. So and then I had Kelvin Sampson at Washington State. He was heavy on me. He would call me all the time. I took one unofficial visit I took it to Duke and Coach K. Coach K sent me in his office. He told me that they didn't have any scholarships left, but that he had a walk-on position for me here, and I thanked him and I appreciated it. It was an amazing visit. I had been visiting my mother in Atlanta every summer. I'd go down there and visit my mom, go see her. So one summer, my dad, I think it was my sophomore to my junior year, my dad was like, "Hey man, I'm trying to see if you can get up to campus at Duke, man. Go holler at Coach K." I'm like, "What the heck? Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah, man." So he ended up working out. Grant Hill picks me up from the airport. He ends up being my host. Him and Johnny Dawkins, two of my favorite individuals of all time. So that's kind of the group. I had an opportunity to walk on at Duke. Had scholarship offers at Washington State, Arizona State, Utah, and UCLA with Coach Romar, Steve Lavin were heavy in my recruiting. Coach Romar was my guy. He played with my dad, and I'd known him since I was like 11 years old, and I loved that dude to death. So it was like he was like the real reason I wanted to go. I know everybody thinks it's my dad and all that, but it was like Coach Romar. You still got to have a guy there currently that I could vibe with, and UCLA. Come on, you got to have somebody in the building, baby.
Love that, KJ. I can relate in so many ways. I'm a second generation Bruin too. My dad bleeds UCLA, and so a lot to sort of relate there. Tell me, KJ, once you were on campus, on the team, I mean that the iconic '95 national championship team. I mean, everyone remembers the Tyus Edney game winner in the second round against Mizzou, and just rolling all the way to the title, and then really being at UCLA at an incredible time in the mid-90s where things were just humming. So what was that like? What was it like playing with the O'Bannon brothers? And just what did you take? I mean, iconic summer practices, with the pros and Magic and all the NBA guys. So just talk about your 4 years at UCLA.
Yeah, I think that the what you just mentioned was probably the craziest part is the summertime development aspect of what it meant to be a part of UCLA basketball team. Because you had all the pros there every summer at the men's gym and Pauley Pavilion, and then we had a run in the Wooden Center. So you had 3 locations on campus where there were legit Hall of Fame, Olympic pro, All Stars. So Shaq might be in the Wooden Center, and Grant Hill's over at Pauley, and Magic's over at men's gym. I mean, 40, 50 dudes walking around campus. I think what you learn outside of being in all of those guys is you watch them. If you're a sponge and if you're somebody that loves the game, you're going to sit and you're going to kind of stalk those dudes. You're going to watch how they walk, how they behave, how they act, and how they play the game as well. I think a big part of our development as players at UCLA and why we had a little whip. We're pretty good. We underachieved. I can get into that, but I feel like we were still pretty good. National championship, Elite Eight, Sweet 16. I think that every summer playing against those guys, competing in the men's gym, where we'd have a whole UCLA team of guys that we're just going against Magic and all these dudes. That's the part of it that really, made you better outside of your practice and every day. And that's just stuff you take with you for the rest of your life. I think there's also the standpoint of like just how fun it was during the summer times at UCLA and how fun it was year round. Just the campus sort of had this in the mid 90s. It was just an electric energy about it. I don't know. I can't put my finger on why. Maybe it was the social climate. Maybe it was just the way things were going. But maybe a little bit it had to do with the Dodgers weren't doing well. I think football was gone, and the Clippers and Lakers were down, and so we happened to be really live that year, and everybody was down. And so your winner in LA was UCLA. And so for the city to be behind us, right? We're on Jim Rome, the Mighty 690, League, Hacksaw, Helmet. I mean, everybody's old school dudes, but we were dominant. So we were the talking points, and we were the dudes, and so that's what made it so special. I hate to say it, but LA sports was down and we were up, and that's why we were so. I think that contributed to the notoriety of the team. Because man, we're going hanging out with Jack Nicholson and Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. We're going to movie premieres. Coach Herrick was at the Oscars. We're hanging out with people you wouldn't believe. We're at the White House chilling with Bill Clinton. We got a private tour of the White House. I don't know if I should be telling you guys this. Secret Service might come out. But we got a private tour of the White House. Like, because we went out there for to go to the White House. Then we had a dinner in Georgetown one night, right? And so like one of Clinton's like staffers, like high-ranking lady, was like, "Hey, you guys want to go see the Oval Office?" We're like, yeah." She's like, "All right, cool, let's go." We're like, okay. So we ended up rolling. We go somewhere. We go to the White House. We like go underneath. She's like showing her badge. She's like, "Yeah, we got the UCLA guys." The security guys were like, "Oh yeah, what's up, O'Bannon?" Because I was with Charles and Cameron Dollar. So they're like, "Oh, Johnson, O'Bannon." They're saying our last names. The dude, they were brothers. They was giving us the daps and the whole nine. And so we go in the White House, and she's like, "Yo, don't touch anything." So we go upstairs. We're walking around. We ended up getting into the Oval Office, man. Like she didn't want us to walk. There's like this little rope there, so you couldn't really walk across. But she's like, you guys can like lean over and look. So we were like leaning over and looking at the desk, and that type of stuff is what really, I remember about UCLA and my experience there. Aside from the friendships and meeting my children's mom there and all that other type of good stuff, it was just one of the greatest experiences at a wonderful time in basketball history.
Amazing,
man. So I got a 2-part question coming up for you. One, what was the most insane game you got involved with all those people on campus, whether it was Magic, Shaq was there. We knew young Kobe was out there training a little bit. I want to hear from you. What was the most insane game you went with? And part 2, how proud are you of your guy, Ed O'Bannon, for really starting the whole cycle of this NIL thing? If you really go back to the beginning, He was the guy that came out against the video game NCAA basketball back in the day. Hey, I need to be getting some compensation for this. Lo and behold, he was kind of the spark that started the fire that is NIL currently within college sports, man. So talk to me about your guy, Ed O.B., and then talk to me. I got to hear the craziest run you had at UCLA with all those legendary guys running around.
Yeah, man. The first thing with Ed, I mean, you know what people got to understand is that Ed, he risked a lot. He put a lot at stake by being sort of the front man for this big lawsuit. You know, you're basically probably not going to be able to coach again in college, or there's like you're going to be blackballed to a sense. I'm not saying this is what happens, but it's like, people are going to be looking at you sideways. And so he took a big risk to stand for something. For me, the NCAA and the whole process and the idea that for all this time, guys, we weren't getting paid and all that, it was unfair. I know that, we had the scholarship, but it's just the workload wasn't matching the compensation, in my opinion. And so anyway, I'm glad that Ed took a stand. He had the courage, he had the support. He's always been that type of dude where he didn't care what other people thought about him. He was going to lead and lead in the right way. He didn't care if it was the cool thing to do. He was going to do Ed, and Ed was moved by something. He took a stand, and it ushered in a new era of college athletics, unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, the NIL completely changed the game. It's made, that slick elite college recruiter kind of obsolete in a sense where you had guys that were legends in the game because of their ability to pull in players to get the top dudes, 5-star talent, football and basketball. You got hot shot guys that hang their hat.
Yeah, with some of these
all
dudes,
day, all day. They got the pipeline to the guys, and so now the pipeline is paper. Now the pipeline is bread. It's hey, what you talking about? So that's the universal language. Great, So now we don't have to have a great recruiter. All we have to do is have an alumni base that's gonna fill us up each year, so we can get the dudes we need, so that we can qualify to get some of these NCAA tournament units. Okay, that they're breaking people off with deep into the tournament. Okay, I need some Elite Eight, some Final Four units. Okay, it's about these units. Okay, don't make no mistake about it. And the Big Ten, man. I mean, so all that to be said with Ed, man, I'm just proud of him. And I'm happy for all these dudes, man, in college basketball that are getting paid. I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea, especially at a place like UCLA, where it's taken the fan base a while to kind of come along to this idea of like, we're going to really publicly pay players and et cetera. But man, this is the way it is. And so now that the playing field is even, we get to, really compete like on an even playing field, in my opinion. Like, you can't really, there's no more advantages like you used to have. Like, who could be more sneaky in how they handed off bags used to be the game. Who could hand off the most bags without anybody flying out? That used to be the game. Now it's like that part of the game is no longer. So now it's really about X's and O's. It's about roster retention, keeping dudes. It's about meshing a bunch of good dudes, 5 stars, 4 stars. It's about how you blend those dudes now. What are you telling each of one of those dudes? Are you telling Tyler Bilodeau one thing? You telling Eric Daly? What did you tell Mara to get Mara to come back, Coach Cronin? God dang. I mean, what the heck did you say to Mara? Because you brought in 6 dudes over him. So that's going to be the part. That's going to be the part of it, though, that is going to really make or break coaches. All that other stuff, like getting guys now, it's all about banks. So now you got to really coach and really manage rosters.
No, makes sense, KJ. Let me ask you this, and you alluded to this. This is unquestionably the greatest basketball school in America, the greatest history, the greatest tradition, the most championships, iconic in every sense of the word. You were there for, the zenith of the heyday, post Coach Wooden. And then obviously we had the Final Four runs 06 to 08. We had the great Cinderella first 4 to Final Four run in 21. But from the time you left till 06, and then from maybe 09 until 2020, there were some lulls. Yeah. Why do you think those lulls existed, in your expert opinion? And now with NIL and everything else, are you seeing something different moving forward? Are we back? Is the expectation Final Four every year now moving forward?
Wow, that's a great question. UCLA used to be a place where the expectation was Final Four. I mean, it's notoriously the place where we don't hang Sweet 16 or Elite Eight banners, as you all know. Other schools do. You guys can celebrate that, but we don't even think about that. Okay. So for me, the fact that we now have a vehicle that's now, because remember, we went through the lulls a lot because it just depended on the moods of the local AAU coaches that year and whether they were going to send us players. So we went through
Mm,
like long periods of time where we had bad relationships. Some coaches had bad relationships around locally, and so we were missing out on a lot of good dudes that could have helped us win games and win banners. And so now you don't get good dudes, you got to accept other dudes, similar to last year, right? So you don't get some dudes and stuff. So now we got to rock with certain guys that may not have played this much on a normal UCLA type of team. So I think
mm.
we went through some lows, man. I think we went through some lows, man. For me, the offer year with Lonzo and TJ Leaf and all them dudes, like we should have won that year. Like that was a championship year.
Yes.
I had so much belief Lonzo was going to lead us to the promised land. Lonzo Ball is one of my favorite college basketball players in the history of the
Yeah.
game. I mean, he made my heart flutter. Like I used to just love watching Lonzo Ball. I'm just gonna be honest. And I thought that was the year. The other time I thought it was the year, man. Well, I didn't think it was the year, but I thought we should have beat Florida. That I think it was the first time around, man. Aflalo had a
Yeah.
bad game. Corey Brewer kind of went off, but I felt like
Yeah. Oh six. Yeah.
that was the year. Like we should have. I mean, hey, who knew Horford, doggone Noah, was going?
Yeah.
Horford's still playing. Horford is still
That's right.
playing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Are you
Crazy, dude.
serious? Like that's how good Horford was. Okay, let's just keep it real on Al Horford. Al Horford was sick, and then so they had a good team. Then the Mick year, right, guys? The first four, bro, that's a natty. Jalen Suggs, get out of here. That was the luckiest shot in the history of mankind. Like, and then Johnny, if you watch it again, you see Johnny kind of laying off. I'm like, dang, Johnny, why didn't you just ride him? Just get on his hip and just
Yeah.
Johnny's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
guarding back, and just kind of came late. But man, it's like those were the moments I felt like, we could have hung number 12. Like we could have had another banner up. We were right there. It was that close. I mean, I think did we get to the Final Four with K Love? Do you
We
guys
did.
remember?
We did. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
Yeah.
oh 08. Oh 08.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, we
2006.
played that
that's
Memphis
that's
team,
D Rose, yeah,
with D Rose. Yeah.
that's another guy.
Coach Cal.
K Love is another guy that I just made one like Lonzo, where my heart just like I love like K Love,
Oh,
like K Love was gonna lead us. I just believed in him. You know how you believe in a certain UCLA
Yes.
guy like Ed O'Bannon. I believed in K Love the same. I believed in Lonzo. I even believed in our guys back in the day. When with Farmer and Collison, like I was huge. And
yeah.
Mbamute and Boya, and just those guys. But all that to say, yes, we're back. To answer your question, yes, we're back. We're back. I feel like Mick's the guy. Mick is the pick because believe it or not, like when Mick first did that thing where he took the jerseys away a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys
Mm.
remember he did
Yeah.
that jersey thing. That really spoke to me because not a lot of coaches are going to come in and make a move like that, right? Because that was it was a move that's like not only directed at the players, but it's showing the fan base, it's showing the donors, it's showing the former players, hey, I respect what those four letters are all about. That's the thing with UCLA. It's one of the deepest legacies in all of college sport because of who Coach Wooden was, what he represented, and the excellence and the players and what they represented at the time that they came through. Like these are some of the most iconic individuals that our game has ever seen. That's who UCLA pedigree. So when you put on the four letters, you're wearing what Bill Walton, Kareem, Sidney Wicks, Marcus
Yes.
Johnson, all these kind of guys that are looked at and revered legends in the sport, not just like UCLA and West Coast. We're talking about icons. So it's a special thing. 11 national championship banners. That's not a normal thing. That's you walk in a gym where you're shooting jumpers and you got 11 natties up and you're working on your game. Come on. If you don't work on your game hard, if you're not geeked about that, and that's what I started my website and all that stuff I did with those four letters is because man, there's something special because we were losing during the season and we weren't having a good year. I think we had just lost four straight, lost the season at home or something. and the fan base, the pitchforks out, and everybody wanted to, just crucify. And I'm just like, you know what, man? Because in years past, man, I've had a negative kind of disposition towards UCLA. I joined the fray. I started talking stuff, throwing tomatoes at dudes, being kind of a jerk. But this year in particular, I was just like, you know what, man? I believe in these guys. Like, I just wanted to be positive. I just wanted to get a pot. I don't deal with losing well. I don't deal with, losing seasons. I'm the kind of guy at the end of the year, I don't want to go to the exit meeting. Don't talk to me. I just leave, When you get older, you realize when you get older, you realize there's a professional way of doing things. There's a way to close things out. There's a way to lose as well as there's a way to win. So when you're winning, it's all good. So you can always be happy. We always go be on Twitter talking stuff. But what happens when you're losing? How do you guys respond? Are you just going to call for Coach Cronin's head? Are you going to talk about, how sorry Jan Vide is and how much you hate Lazar Stefanovic's jumper because he's 2 for 27? No. We
AJ, too soon. Hashtag too soon. Too soon.
No, you can't do that, man. So long story, all that to be said, dude, like I feel like we're back. I feel like we got the right crew. We got the right mix of players. And I love this coaching staff and how they go about their business. So, yes, my man, we are back.
I love to hear that. Love to hear that. We heard it here first, Thriller. We are back.
We're officially back, man. And I would even say this to add to your point, man. If Jalen Clark doesn't get hurt 2 years ago, I'm picking the Bruins in the
tournament. Thank you.
Yeah. That was, that 100%. Team was
we were perfectly matched up with UConn. Perfectly matched up with UConn that year. We lost Bona and Clark. We had Bona and Clark with Tiger, Jaime. We were set.
We were set, dude. We were setting up, but yeah. I one more thing on that team because I love that team. Dude. They lost. They lost to Arizona in the tournament, right? Remember they lost, I think, in the championship game. But remember,
McClendon had the three. Oh,
hey, you remember that effort? Oh, that effort, man! It brought me kind of like emotional. Just the effort that they gave us. We didn't get it, but God dog, I was like. Man, I was in tears. Like, man, these guys, man, I love these guys, man. That's all. But that's all a part of this UCLA stuff. Those 4 letters. I'm sure it might be like that at other schools, but for us, it really matters, man. It really hits home. I don't know. It feels different to me, man, out here with UCLA, man. It really does. I've been around the country. I've been around other fan bases. I know what time it is over there. It's not like us. Y'all are not like us. We are different. We take this stuff way more different seriously than you. 100%.
For sure.
Like this is what this is all about with UCLA, man. The basketball history, tradition, things of that nature, man. And I know you were close to John Wooden. Your family was close to Wooden. I want to know what were some of your interactions like with him, because for me, the Mount Rushmore of coaches in professional sports, I got Phil Jackson there. I got, Bill Belichick, what he did. I think he replaced Lombardi for me. I got Joe Torre on the baseball diamond, and I got John Wooden, in that 4 spot for me. John Wooden, the Wizard of Westwood, 10 national championships, what he was able to build up. What were some of those interactions like for you, talking to the Wizard, you guys having a family relationship with him? Because for me, someone that was kind of around after he's gone, he's just a legend. I don't know anything about him other than the stories and what we've got. So talk to me about our guy Wooden, man.
Well, the thing about Coach Wooden is that he's like this iconic figure in your life that you heard about your whole life. You see books laying around in your dad's house, and he's on the cover. You're just like, who's this guy? Who is this man? And once you understand who he was, and you understood what he was about as far as how he went about his business, what he preached, like I personally just had a reverence for him. So he gave me a call one time before I think I was playing my senior year. I was about to play against Shea Cotton, Modern Day at the Pond.
Oh wow!
And he called me at breakfast. And one thing he told me, he was like, I love your game, but he's like, you need to really focus on your free throws. He was like breaking down like how my foot position was on my free throws. I think if you move your left foot back a little bit, this and that. And that was his little statement to me on the eve of the biggest game of my high school career, which was the Southern California Regional Championship. The game he's talking about me adjusting my foot position. Hey, you're a good player, but hey, I don't really like how you put your foot on your free throw, dude. I was like, Coach, thank you. So that sort of just sums up my experience with Coach Wooden. I see him at every game. My grandparents would have tickets. They had season tickets at UCLA for 35 years. In the row, Coach Wooden's row. Coach Wooden was by I don't know what that's called, the rail or whatever. My grandparents were like a couple seats down. So after the games, I'd go say hi to everybody over there. Dan, everybody be over there. The Wooden Award stuff, the downtown LA Athletic Club. We were lifetime members, so we were down there all the time. We go back to the Wooden Award and show our face. And then we had an event in 2010 where we raised almost $200,000 for UCLA's Black Alumni Association. We, meaning me, my dad, my brother Josiah, me, my brother, and Quinn, his partner. We produced this 30-minute documentary about a situation that happened with Coach Wooden when he was a coach at Indiana State. He had a black player. They had traveled to go somewhere in 1948 or something, so the laws were a lot different. And he had a black player on his team, so they weren't going to allow his black player to eat with the team. Coach Wooden said, "Hey, we're not standing for that." They took a stand. They took the team to somewhere else, so where the black player was allowed to eat. And it was just a really special story that we kind of captured in 30 minutes. And we had a nice fundraiser at Angelo's house, the big football guy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Angelo.
Yes,
Big
yes.
Angelo, the guy. Yeah. So we had it at Angelo's house over on Brentwood. He lives next to the Modern Family house. I don't know, where is it? Was it Modern Family?
Okay.
I forgot what it was. Yeah, it's on the corner of Brentwood. It's on the corner of Sunset, but it's big baller status anyway. But no, but Coach Howland came. The chancellor at the time, who was the chancellor before Gene Block, or was it Gene Block? I think it might have been Chancellor Block.
Was it
No,
Carnicel?
It was Carnicel. He was there. We had a bunch of luminaries, man. UCLA, Ed O'Bannon, Tyus Indy, so all in the name of Coach Wood, all in the name of the family, all in the name of his legacy. My dad was the first John R. Wooden Award winner, the very first one.
Wow.
So that award,
I didn't realize that. That's an incredible honor. Wow.
Joined at the hip. I mean, I got the picture in my house of my mom, my dad, my grandparents with Coach Wooden at that very first award, 1977, black and white. It's a special thing. It's one of those things, man. You just can't believe it. I can't believe I'm so lucky and to be blessed to have a legacy like I do at a place like UCLA, and just to be even associated with Coach Wooden, to be even, remotely associated, is just an honor for me and our family.
Wow. KJ, there's no better way to cap this off than what you just said. That pyramid of success and those 4 letters. It's been an absolute honor, KJ, to have you on the show. Your energy is radiant, and just your spirit is second to none, and uncanny for UCLA. Been a real thrill to have you on the show. So grateful for it. And promise us one thing, that this is going to be the first of many recurring appearances back on the Bruin Bible as we get into the season, because we'd be more than honored to have you.
Absolutely, man. I'm just a call away, brother. Hit me up whenever y'all want me, man. Thanks a lot for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, KJ. This was a blast, man. Bruin Bible, we are officially out. Follow KJ at those 4 letters. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4's up. We got to get out of here, guys. Take it easy.